Good evening, everyone, and thanks for logging in and joining this VFS Online Industry Talk. My name is Jamie Fall. I'm the Senior Instructor in the Film Department at VFS for producing, and I'm going to be your host moderator tonight. And tonight we are chatting with James Mattagne. I'm quickly going to read his bio. If you guys logged in and saw the notice, you probably saw it, but I think it's worth repeating again. James Mattagne is a film producer known for his versatile storytelling. With a background in both creative arts and business management, James has produced a diverse portfolio of over 25 projects, ranging from narrative features, compelling shorts, commercials for high-profile luxury brands, music videos for artists that are excelling in the industry. Many of these projects have screened both locally and internationally at festivals, winning multiple awards in various categories. Over the years, Mr. Mattagne has worked on over 100 movies, coordinated with executives from Fortune Global 500 companies and multinationals from across North America and Europe. James' passion for storytelling and dedication to quality craftsmanship continue to drive him to push boundaries of cinematic expression. Wow. All right. Well, that was quite the bio. Thanks for joining us, James. So tonight we're talking about tonight we're going to talk about producing, obviously, and from your perspective, sort of the unsung heroes, I think, of the film industry. And I feel I can say that as a producer myself. I don't think anybody really cares who we are. Yeah, we're really and we've known each other now for about 7 years. So it's really great to see where you are now in your career and how you've kickstarted it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Thank you. Nice to be here. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Jamie. Well, you inspired me a lot, actually. I didn't know when I entered film school that I wanted to be a producer or what I wanted to do. So it was nice that you directed me in that, producing well. So hi, everyone. My name is James. I am from Belgium and the UK. I moved to Vancouver in 2017 to pursue a journey at the Vancouver Film School. Before moving here, I was not. I loved movies, but I was not sure how to get in. If I wanted to be in the European market or if I wanted to be in the North American industry. But then, I looked up some film schools in North America because there was more of the content that I was wanting to do. And so I found on the website of Vancouver Film School. I asked around, I did my research online, and it seemed like it was a perfect fit for me because I didn't want to do a 3-year program. I wanted to do a 1-year intensive course and go directly into the industry. And I think that was the right path for me. Also, what was very interesting for me is the education system. There was a lot of hands-on. I can't be in lectures for hours and hours every day. Just loses my attention. So being to do like hands-on and really start shooting movies and learning all of that with my classmates was really something I appreciated, and that helped me a lot. So 2017, I arrived in Vancouver in February, and I did my 1 year at VFS. It was really, really intense. Not a lot of sleeping. Personally, for me, I really dedicated a lot to that 1 year because there was a lot of sacrifices that I made to move to Vancouver and to really pursue that. And as I said, when I arrived at the Vancouver Film School, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I think a lot of people go in thinking they want to be a director. But then really once I experienced every department and get to really go deep in detail in all their craft, I really enjoyed a lot of it. I even learned how to sew, which is something I never knew I would do in production design and slash costume. And honestly, it was great. So that's something I really appreciated. And then when I started to specialize, I felt like producing the business side of film was something that I wanted to explore more. And of course, cinematography, because I love cameras and those little toys, that you get to play on set. I really like it. So yeah, those are the two departments that I specialized in, but mainly focusing on producing like the shows that we could do during the year and not DPing. So in term 1, we got to experience, we had like the little shoots. So we got to really experiment all the positions. Term 3, that's where I focused more on producing when we did the episodics. And then term 4, it was the finals. So we had to pitch to our classmates. The instructors left us alone in the room. So we had to pitch to our classmates, and that can get a bit feisty because only I think 5 or 6 projects can get made, but you have a whole class of maybe 30 people that have ideas, great ideas, and they want to pitch it and make it. That gets tricky, you all had to make your presentation and pitch it to the class, and luckily our project was selected, and we managed to make it as one of the finals that year. And then the last shoot I did as a producer was for the term 6 mini shoots.
Right.
I did 2 of those, and a music video and a kind of commercial. So, and then that was it for my journey at VFS. But honestly, it was fantastic. I would recommend it.
And did you always sort of want to know you wanted to be a filmmaker of some sort when growing up?
Yes.
Was that a childhood dream?
Yeah, I always wanted to be involved in movies. So I thought the route would be advertising. So I kind of studied architecture and design / advertising in Brussels. I did 1 year out of the bachelor, and then I told myself, I'm not going to waste my time. If it's really film that I want to make, I want to do, then I should pursue it. And I just told my parents, I don't think I'm going to keep studying, and I'm going to study something else. And luckily, my family is very supportive, and they're artistic as well. So, they pushed me to follow my dream, and they didn't hold me back, even if it's hard for them to see me go overseas. They always encouraged me, and still to today. So, yeah, I'm very grateful for that.
Nice. Excellent. And had you done any sort of, nowadays, it's not really that long ago since you came to school, but everybody's got a camera, and everybody's got a camera on their phone. Were you shooting
Yeah.
stuff before, or were you really sort of the first start of?
No, it was the first. Of course, I had GoPros and a camcorder at home when I was younger, and I used to record myself do stupid things in the yard and just little movies. But I never show them to anyone. It's something I will never show. It's on my hard drive, hidden away, because I was not comfortable showing it. For me, it was not like cinema, So the only project that I showed people, the first one, was my final film at VFS. That's the first project I showed to people because I was proud of it and it looked like a movie when I was a student. So yeah.
So every producer, every filmmaker's path is different, and certainly every producer's path is different. So you're done school. So now what?
Yes. So I went back home to Belgium for around 6 months. So when I was in term 4, I already applied for a working permit in Canada, just in case I wanted to come back, and that was really where I should start my career. But I was very conflicted because at home, I have my family, and I have some connections there I could maybe use for the movie world industry. But the Belgian and French content was not really my genre of movies. I was more focused on North American Hollywood films. So I stayed 6 months in Belgium. I decided to shoot a commercial because I was also interested in commercials. I like that appeal of it, working around the product and trying to showcase the best side of it. So we did a commercial for a champagne brand called Laurent Perrier, which is a French champagne brand.
Nice.
And that was great. Honestly, I had an amazing time, and I learned a lot because I finished film school. It's my first project out of film school. I have no crew. I have no resources. So I was a bit stuck, like, oh, what did I get myself into? But luckily, I had a DOP friend, Edward, in Belgium that I kept in contact because he also lived in Los Angeles. And so we decided to partner up and prepare for this commercial. And then he helped me crew, and we found a director, and then the crew followed. Same for rental houses. We looked around and so on. We made deals, and we managed to get everything we needed. I asked a lot of my friends to help me, even if they had no idea how films were made. I taught them, and I showed them how it goes. and it went really well. And the client was very happy. We delivered, and yeah, it was honestly a great experience. Tough, but great.
So I find in Vancouver that the commercial world is very separated from the television and film industry. I know people
Mhm.
do cross over, but my friends who work in the commercial industry, that's sort of where they stay,
Yeah.
and they don't go across. But I know that you've done numerous commercials over the years as well. What do you feel you learn as a producer from working on a commercial that would be different or give you a different insight into telling a narrative story at the end of the day? Is there some help there, or I mean, it's work, but
Yeah, yeah. There is a bit of a narrative, but it's not as heavy in terms of characters and story arcs and all those little details. So, I mean, depending on the commercial you're doing. But for example, we did a car commercial for McLaren, and one of the reasons why I did it is because I'm really passionate about cars, and I always wanted to shoot with cars. So that really pushed me to be able to just do a car commercial, because in movies maybe only a sequence will be related to a car. So I wanted to show that power of the car and the beauty of it, the beauty and design of it. So that is kind of like the art piece of the commercial. Um, the crew is the same, really. I didn't really, there's not too many differences there. Um, but it's when you report to a client in the commercial world, it's as if you're reporting to a network or studio in the film world. So there's still that chain of command and still same crew. So it's pretty similar. I think it's just the content and the script that's kind of different. But
right,
the ways of shooting are more or less the same. Maybe a bit less intense in terms of the days, how packed the days are.
right, right. They always seem to have better budgets than the rest of us.
Yes. Well, I didn't have big budgets on these, but yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So you did a couple of commercials and you came back to Canada.
Yes. So I came back to Canada, and then I worked as a cine TA with Rodrigo. I did that for about a year and a half, I believe. And then someone named Jamie stole me from that department, and then I worked for you for I think 2 years, and we enjoyed it during COVID, and I think that made us even closer because we had to find a way to be able to still teach and aspire students to become
Mm.
filmmakers online and or overseas, depending on where people were. So that was a challenge for everyone, but I think we managed to do that. But then just to go a little bit back, when at the end of my journey at VFS, they were shooting big movies in town, and one of them was Deadpool 2. And even if your classes and the hours you're doing are very long, seeing a movie like Deadpool with, I don't know, unlimited budget, let's say that, shoot in the city was very inspiring. I used to stay until 4 or 5 in the morning when they were doing night shoots in town, just to really see how everything worked. And just by observing, and thanks to VFS knowing what crew does what, and when there was a safety meeting at the beginning, and just seeing how everything works, it helps a lot, and it just gives you even more energy and willingness to do movies. So I think that's something that I should mention if you have the opportunity to visit sets or to just see in Vancouver here when people are shooting. Like I know Tron was shooting recently. If they were doing a lot of night shoots, if you can just go and peek and see how it works, it will help a lot, and me boost my morale and making me want to do more movies, bigger movies. So it's just like a little flashback on that I wanted to discuss. Um, so yeah, when I was a TA, I did my 9 to 5 or 9 to 7, depending on the days, and then I kept pushing myself to create content. I didn't want to lose that creativity, and now that I was a TA, I'm not shooting my projects, but I also need to think about myself and building my portfolio and what I can do and what to do. So I was also a bit lost. I'm sure a lot of people are a bit lost when they come out of film school, and and ask like, where do I start? As I said in the article, there's no blueprint to no path to get to the where you want in life, or like a certain career objective. So I kind of with whoever was left in my class that was still in Vancouver and that I was very close to, that are still my best friends. We got together and we started working on stories and projects. We did all the competitions. We did Crazy Eights. We did Man, Run and Gun. We did Rendans did a writing competition that I got to produce. So we made a movie for them. There's all those little short competitions. That's where you meet everyone. So I'll emphasize that it's really important to go to all those film events and to network, because that's where you're going to meet vendors, crew, actors, like writers, all those creative people, and they're all in the same boat as well. They really want to create stories and movies. So doing all of that really opened my network. I met so many people that now still work with me. So I would say keep exploring. I did a movie in Super 8, which was very risky, but we
Remember
shot it in
that.
Super 8, and then we were developing the footage, and half the footage didn't work. There was an issue with the camera, I think. So half the movie didn't show up. So we had to reshoot, but we're funding all of those projects ourselves. So well, I had to wait a little bit, and then we had to go back all the stock and get everyone again and reshoot everything. The second half of the movie. So I learned that you can't really check. The camera. It was working at the beginning, and then something happened. But there's a risk of shooting in film, but it's fun. Like, experience it. Like, you'll be happy with the end product. It's a risk, but it's rewarding. Crazy Eights is intense. I would do it. I did 2 in a row, and then now I work with them for the last 2 years. And I think that was my biggest movie when I out of film school. It was around 80 to 100 people. It was 3 intense days. And I learned so much on those days and how to work with crew. So now when I came out of film school, I'm someone that's when I started film school, teamwork is not something that I really do. I like to usually do my work solo, but as film is a creative medium, you really have to learn how to collaborate and work with people. And now it's something that I could never do without a team. Everyone brings something so unique, creativity-wise, to the project, that you can just not make a movie on your own. So yeah, we did those, and honestly, please do it. Please do all those film competitions. Support the indie film industry, and it'll be beneficial for you.
I think that's a tough thing about producing, or at least I feel it's one of them, is that as the sort of, maybe not the best words, but management or employer, which aren't the best words. But you're the one who has to find the job, and then you're hiring everybody else. So I'm not saying it's easy as being, the production designer or anything like that, but you really do. And I remember while you were at the school as a TA that you were always doing something.
Mhm.
Had things on the go and shooting this weekend and that. And I think that's really important because nobody's going to come and knock on your door as a producer for the most part and say, hey, would you like to have some work? You sort of have to put that together. So how important do you feel is working? I mean, teamwork is definitely the way to go. Do you like to keep bringing the same people back over and over again, or is it
Um,
different every project?
I think I think it depends on the project. For some specific projects, I like to work with the same team, but then I like to explore and work with different people, because everyone has a different approach and a different mindset and creative minds. So they might have other ideas that are nice to explore and to work with. So I think everyone has unique and original different ideas. So I think collaborating with many different people is a good thing. Maybe you have a particular DP you like to work with, but other DPs have different visions and colors and lenses or visions that they want to give to the movie, and I think it's important to explore and work with different people. And then if you know you lock in into a team that you really like, then for sure you can move on with them. But I think it's a personal choice. But I would encourage to try and explore working with other people until you're really satisfied and like, okay, that's really those people I really want to work with for a feature. Then you can move on with them, you know.
Right. Makes sense for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
And something I wanted to touch base on was you know, it's easy to say, oh, shoot this, shoot this. But you need money to be able to, you know, fund these projects. So I know that that is hard, and whatever savings that I had that that I could spare, I would put it aside, and then I would use that money to finance those little short films. Of course, when you do short films, you cannot pay everyone. You know, there's honorariums. Catering is not a fancy food truck. You know, the gear is limited. So, you know, a lot of people help you, but then it's also for their own benefit as well. You know, they'll put this in their portfolio depending on their position, and some people are happy to help. So, whatever you can do to, you know, save a bit of money and put it in your project and not put you in a bad position financially. I think you should try and do that to finance your little movies and create yourself a portfolio so that people can see and then entrust, give more trust in you, and then potentially finance and give you money or funding for a show.
right. I know that you've done a wide variety of things from when you're looking at ideas and projects. What are you looking for? Every producer is going to be different, but for you, how do you decide this is the right project for you to take on?
It's mostly something that I like. Um, I don't really follow like agendas or whatever people, whatever the majority of people think. I whatever I like, and I think it's important as a story to tell the world and that has a good message, then I will go for it. It's more like what my gut tells me. But I'm open to every genre. That's mean I'm not limited in terms of genre. So if you have a nice rom-com, even if that's not something I used to like, I'm more into action stuff. But you know, if that story has a really deep message and can be shared with the world and have an impact on the world, then that's something I would pursue. So it really depends how the story is written, the arcs of the characters, and the structure of the script, I guess. For me, that's something I really look into, and that's important. The message that it conveys to an audience.
So you don't feel you need to focus too much on genre, that you really are just looking for great stories?
Yeah, like I would like I'd say my if I did my last movie was a comedy, then the next one I want to try something a bit different. I won't say no to other comedy movies, but if the next one is an action and it's something that I like as well, then I would go for that one. I don't have a specific like genre in terms of I'll do this one first, but I'm really open to everything. But yeah, action, you know, is something that I really like. But it's expensive to make because you know, stunts are a big part of it, and that involves, you know, insurance, and stunt actors are expensive. Equipment is expensive, safety is expensive. There's a big risk there as well. So those tend to be bigger projects that I try and save when I have a bigger budget or bigger concept.
Um, I'm sure, I don't know if there's other projects you want to talk about, but I think would be great to talk about your last I believe it was your last project, Lowlifes,
Yes, no life. Yes.
which horror is not my genre, but I did watch it.
Oh, thank you.
And it was great, lots of twists and turns, and we're not going to give anything away. If you haven't watched it, it's on Crave, and you should definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun. But
Yes.
you want to talk about your experience on that? And before I
Yeah,
move,
sure.
I'm just going to say to
Yeah.
anybody in there that if we are going to have some Q&A at the end, I forgot to mention that at the beginning. So in the chat, if you guys want to populate any questions, we'll get to them as we get further into the session. But back to Lowlifes and maybe how that came about. And
Yeah, sure. So I work at Front Street Pictures, and I work with Brad Luff and Charles Cooper in development, and we got a script came across our desk, and we were very interested because of well, I can't say much because of the plot twist that happens in the movie, and there's various plot twists in the movie that are really interesting. So when that came to us, we pitched it to a network, Tubi, and they liked the concept. So we got greenlit, and then we moved on to production. It was supposed to happen this year, but for some reason we shot it last year. And so in October, November, we were prepping and shooting. That one was a tough shoot again, but it was honestly it was very rewarding. It does help to have a bigger crew. I will say that because on all the short films or other projects that I've done, it's always a limited crew. So as a producer, you have to put a hat for a lot of different departments and positions. So having a bigger crew helps deal with one area of the department and of the movie. So I will say that that felt good to have that support. So I really liked it. And then brainstorming with all the departments and the directors, especially Mitch and Tesh, was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. And so yeah, we had a very ambitious script. You know, we had a low budget and we only had 12 days of shoot. So it was
Which is
around
insane when
10.
you watch it. But it's
Yeah,
insane that you did that in 12 days when you watch that show.
it was, yes, long
Impressive.
days. But yeah, it was around 10 plus pages a day. Um, I'm not going to spoil the movie, but once you watch the movie, you'll see there's a lot of death, and shooting a death requires a lot of work. And there's a lot throughout the movie, so it was it was pretty intense. But we had to do a free script rewrite. So with the writer and the directors, you know, for example, we cut out a kid that was there initially. There was a dog in the movie that we cut out. There was a sheriff we cut out. We changed some scenes, combined some locations. So you know, moving all these little pieces, and then you know, with the director's vision, help shape it and give it to us, the crew. It just worked out in the end, which I am speechless because it was very tough. But our directors are very talented, and they managed to make it happen. So you know, I respect them.
And
I'll just give. Oh, sorry. Tell me.
go ahead. I was just gonna ask, were the directors attached to the project when the script came in, or is that a
No,
team you put together after the
it's
script?
a team that I put together. So Tubi was looking for up and coming directors. They didn't want established directors. They wanted someone that made short films, and who was going to be the next director. So Tesh and Mitch worked with me here at Front Street, and um, I talked with them, and then talked to them about the project, and they were interested, and so they jumped on board because Mitch and Tesh are directors. They did a lot of short films as well, in the indie world as well. So I was thinking to myself, well, they might, you know, they have a lot of talent, and I think they could be the next big hit. So, you know, I proposed them to Tubi and Front Street, and then they were approved, and it went from there. So that was nice that it was not too much of a battle, because they were looking for these up and coming directors, and I didn't just bring one director, we brought two directors. So both of them are very experienced in horror and have a really big knowledge in horror film. And that really helped shape the story and craft the characters in that 90-minute movie.
I know that there is more and more co-directing out there. I've never actually had that experience. Do they work regularly as co-directors, or is this something
No,
you?
this was the first time. It was the first time. So, you know, it was also a bit of a risk because I don't know if they work well together. But, you know, from the vibes that I got and how they talk to each other here at work, I knew that it could work. So, you know, sometimes you have to put in some risks, and that was a risk that I was willing to take. And honestly, I was very happy with it. So it worked out for me on that one.
And how much creative control did Tubi give you guys on this project?
Honestly, nearly everything. They were not picky at all. Of course, we ran everything through them,
Right.
but they were very open and they liked our ideas. So I don't know if it's because they liked our ideas or if it's because they had other things going on, but there was not that much interaction. Um, it was pretty hands off for them, so that was nice for us. Like we did all our creative thinking and we showed them some different ideas and they all liked it, so it all went by and it was very smooth, honestly.
Nice. You want to talk a little bit about prep because I know the shoot period was extremely short.
Yeah,
Given how much you guys had to accomplish in the days that you had. But I know we talked earlier before when we were chatting just about I thought the house was a build, because it feels like not in a bad way. It feels like it's so
yeah.
perfect that you can't be couldn't possibly exist anywhere in the universe. But you were also talking about how you were able to function or move quicker on set as well using some technology, and maybe I'm not just aware with it of it, but I think it's worth sort of chatting about because I certainly wasn't aware of that kind of technology
Yeah, for
or
sure.
how you use. Yeah.
So there's multiple locations in the movie, but we couldn't afford to travel to another location and to also spend for other locations. So luckily, we were shooting in Langley on a property. It was a really big property, and they had on the other side of their property a house that was abandoned. I mean, it's not abandoned to them; they just no one lived there,
Right.
but it's still maintained. But it's like the perfect house. It was a bit old. It was deteriorating a little bit. And it's like this is the perfect house. It looks a bit creepy. And then the property was huge. So for all the driving scenes, you were in next to the fields, going back and forth, changing the angles. And then around the house, there was also like a little bit of a forest and cabins, and we were just moving around with the angles, and we shot everything on the same property. We repurposed 3 rooms in a house to make it 5 rooms. So, for example, Savannah's bedroom and Neville's bedroom are the same. We just decorated it on each side. So we changed it. We made adjustments to the set deck. So to extend the hallway. So there's a hallway where Jeffrey is walking. That the room at the far back is actually the room where Kathleen and Keith are staying overnight. And so we moved the set deck and we made a nice row of furniture to really extend that hallway and to pretend that there was a window, and so there was a blue light facing as it was the moon on Jeffrey. So we cheated a lot of things, but that's what movie magic is, right? You cheat it and try and fool the audience to make it work. So yeah,
And
that's one of the sorry.
no, go ahead. Sorry.
So yeah, that was one of the things we did. But then just also like for special effects makeup, Andy Lee was our special effect artist, and his team did an insane amount of prep because of all the body parts that we needed and the low budget that we had. They worked like overnight, and there was no room for error. If one of the arms getting chopped off was not done properly, then we had to use that one because we didn't have time to make another take or any of the prosthetics to make another one. So, there's a lot of things that were very risky, especially that it's saying like with the throat slashes. You only have one shot at that, so it was tough. But we made sure everything was ready before calling action. Every department was on their game, and then it all worked out. So that was also very nice.
And I think you were talking to me about, unless I misunderstood, that
Oh yeah, the camera.
scanning the room
Yeah,
and the lighting and stuff,
yeah,
which
yeah.
seems a brilliant idea.
So
Not sure why maybe everybody does do it, but
yeah, so Matt Young is our DP, amazing DP. So we shot with 2 Alexa 35s and Cook S4s. And basically, when we were doing our tech scouts, Matt had a LiDAR on his phone and he scanned the whole property and the whole house. And then he put it into a software that recreated the house kind of in a 3D and then map layout. And we managed to pre-light. So we could put lights on the application, like the software. and to really mimic, for example, the moonlight. If you put a balloon light on the house, then you would see how the shadows and how the light would affect the ground and the characters around. So we scanned the whole house, we pre-lit the whole house, and then so that once we were shooting, we could just install the light, leave the lights, and once we were ready to shoot, we just need to do some tweaks, add some practical lights, and we were good to go. So that saved us a lot of time because again, we didn't have much time, so managing to pre-light everything was way easier. It would go faster and faster.
Yeah, and it certainly feels like the house is not huge, so it also
No,
not having
it's
enough
not
room,
huge at all.
you don't have much room to move stuff around anyway. So
No, the crew had to
temperature
stay
can do it.
outside, and it was freaking cold. It was like -2 in the middle of Langley. Low budget, you know, you don't have all the heaters in the world and stuff. But we make sure that all our crew was well taken care of, well fed. And if I really like to have a sense of security on our set, so you know, I'm open to everyone from PA to the directors. Everyone is available to talk to me, you know, so if there's anything that comes up. But it was really a giving the crew their freedom to do what they do best and create a fun environment makes everyone generate like their best work. It was really like a big family, let's say that.
Very cool. Do you want to take a couple of questions from our
Yeah,
people?
I'm just gonna say one more thing.
Yeah.
I when I was still a TA, I even did a bit of background work because I wanted to really explore all the positions and departments in film. And I felt like if I tried to be a background, I could really see from another perspective how things worked. So I did, you know, a few of the background work. I don't like being in front of the camera, so I stay at the background on the side. And from that, I learned a lot as well. So I recommend, you know, trying things out. Even if it's not something you want to do, if you try and explore, you will still learn a few things.
Very good.
Yeah.
Uh,
So there's one more thing I wanted to talk about because I think it's kind of inspiring for other people. Um, don't hesitate to ask anything like questions, or don't hesitate to ask for things because you never know what could happen. A lot of time I got yeses, which is a lot of people think that they would get an instant no. So for example, they were shooting Batwoman here in at the Vancouver Art Gallery. I just finished my shift at VFS, and then I just walk and I just see the massive shooting. They were shooting the pilot, massive set, and I went to talk to one of the PAs, and we started, you know, connecting. And I asked how do you get a job to work on a film set like that? And because it was the pilot of that woman, it was pretty big in town, and so I just started talking with them, and the next day I was hired to work as a PA on the show. So always get out of your comfort zone and ask. You never know what could happen. So I think that's important to try, because you'll never know otherwise.
there you go. Good advice. A few questions we got here.
Yeah.
This is going to be very personal to every producer, but question is, what is the hardest aspect of producing for you? Because mine will be a different answer.
Yeah. I think it depends. I would say budget, but I will also say being able to how to say working with crews that have a lot of different you know experience and creativity, so being able to shepherd and make sure everyone works well together, and you know make sure there's no one that gets mad or anything is something that's important. And that is hard, is making sure everyone is comfortable with each other and works well with each other, because if you have a crew that doesn't work well with each other, then it's just going to mess up the whole shoot, and I don't know, someone's going to leave, or it's gonna mess up your whole day and shoot. So I think making sure the chemistry between everyone is there, and when you arrive to set, make sure that as a producer you're always happy, smiling, and you bring that energy, because then if people see you as a leader on the project and that you're always happy and positive and helping people out, then that will give them a good like motivation to work. It will inspire them instead of coming grumpy to work. So I think, yeah, managing crew, I think, is something that's also a challenge. There's many challenges, so I can't really explain all of them, but that's one of them, I would say.
Very well. I think you sort of covered this, but there's a question about budget for your personal projects. I know you talked about if you have a little bit of extra money, put it aside, build that
Mhm.
little bit of a nest egg until you have enough to shoot it. Do you have any other thoughts or ideas? I mean, on a low budget, it's tough, especially if you're doing shorts, but have you ever found any other sort of places that have money or other ways of raising it?
Um,
Have
I
you
did
done Indiegogo and
crowdfunding.
stuff like that?
Yeah, I did crowdfunding. I only did it once actually. It was for the VFS final. Um, but I found that it was more my friends and family that helped by investing. So I didn't have time to do a proper campaign. But I think if you do Kickstarter or Indiegogo, you have a proper package. You take the time to do a really good like presentation and pitch package. I think you can attract a lot of people and help fund your next project. I would also try and see and meet with private investors,
Yeah,
even if it's a little bit. People like art. Film is an art, so instead of investing in a painting, you can invest in a movie. So you
there you
can,
go.
you can do different things. It's how
And
you
generally,
sell it.
and again, it'll be different for every person, but what carrot are you dangling with private investors? What have you found gets them excited? Is credit enough for them that they get to
I think
be?
it says that if it's a really cool project that they like and that they feel connected to, then that helps. And then for bigger projects, of course, there's also back ends and things like that. So that also is enticing to them. Um, but for like smaller projects, I think having a little piece of art and a story that they like and they're happy to show and share, then I think that's great. I think they would be interested in doing that.
Question here about crewing your projects, and if you are doing the union route or in the union or working on larger projects, I think it's easier to find crew, but working on other shows, I assume will get you introduced to people. But how do you find a job? Let's say that besides going to Batwoman and asking to get a job, or Batgirl, whatever it was, asking to get a job there, how do you find your crew? Do you guys post somewhere, or do you have some
Um,
for shorts? I would think it would be even harder. Like if I want to go work on a short.
Generally, I use a lot of the same people, so I make connections at like Crazy Ed Gala or like all those film events around town, and there's a lot of crew members there. So you meet someone there, or you can even ask someone that you met on a film event if they know anyone, and they can recommend people. Or you can work on other shows, not as a producer, but you can work on another position on another show, and then you can meet some of the crew members there and bring them onto your show. So it's really about interacting with people on other shows and events that you will get to, uh, you know, build your own crew. I didn't
All
really
right.
post anywhere. Maybe on the VFS alumni group on Facebook, I maybe posted a few times, but other than that, it's all word of mouth and connections.
Let's see what else we have here. There's a question about Tubi and how that relationship came about. Is that was Tubi pitched?
Yeah,
This
so we pitched that project to them, but it was pretty fast in the response. They liked it, and it really went on its way to getting approved pretty fast. But that's because of my other colleagues. Brad Love, he managed to secure us that deal, so it went like that.
right.
Everyone has their own
Um,
strength.
sorry,
Everyone has their own strength in
it's
different
true,
departments.
definitely. Let me see what else is in here. How do you? I asked about anime. You've never done animation, have you? Have you?
No, it's on my list to do, but I have not done one yet.
Somebody's asking how it's different from producing live action. It's like, I don't know. Do you know the answer? I mean, it's actually quite similar, quite honestly.
Yeah, I think you would. I mean, it's still costly, but I think you have less. I mean, of course, less crew. It's more you're working with artists and animators,
Yeah.
different types of animators, and then you bring everything together. But it's like a more post-production flow, right? So it's everything is on computers and labs, and of course, I guess you'll do ADR or like voiceovers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a bit different.
Somebody's asking about where you can watch Lowlifes. I know that it is on Crave. Is that the only way
Yeah.
to
So it's
legally
on
watch it in
Crave.
Canada?
Crave for Canada. I know CTV had it on their website with ads. I don't know if it's still there though. And they play it on the CTV drama channel. So it might play again there. And then it's available on Tubi in the United States and all of Latin America.
Right. So it's got a nice worldwide release.
Not in Europe yet. Soon, hopefully.
This question here about it's sort of interesting. I'll be curious what you feel the answer would be. Someone wants to know, who does the producer answer to on a project?
I think it depends. In this case, you report to the network. But then we only show them really. We send them dailies and things like that. But if there's any comments, then you address them. But overall, we didn't have that much interaction with the network. So I don't know if as a producer you have a producer that's a bit higher than you and hierarchy wise, and then you could answer to them. Depends what your role is on the project, because there's a lot of producers on shows, but every producer has a distinct job. So depending on how it was structured in the beginning will depend on who you answer to.
Right. I mean, you're in Canada now working, but you do have probably multiple passports, as well as, you are international. How much do you feel you need to look at a project and think about the international marketplace when you're looking? So you get a really great idea. If it feels, for lack of maybe a better word, too Canadian, is that a problem? Or if it's a good story, it's a good story. Do you
Well,
manipulate to?
most of the shows here are shot in Canada, but they'll always portray the United States. I think the US mostly likes when it's happening in the US. I don't see many movies that happen in Canada. We always try and disguise it. In terms of Europe, I'm not sure there. I know some of them now want more content from North America, but they have their own industry there as well. So it's a bit of a mix. I don't know any movies here that would be the right fit for like a European country. It really depends what they're looking for and what their channel is looking for. Yeah, I think it depends.
And do you feel that there's an opportunity through casting to sort of expand that marketplace, or
In terms of getting performers from Europe.
or just that have maybe some international exposure, that bringing
Oh,
some
I think it depends for the project because, as you may know, a lot of movies here in Canada rely on the tax credit, and so being Canadian content, the more Canadians you have on the show, the more incentives you get from the government. So depending on what show you're doing, if it's a big budget show, then yes, maybe you'll fly in a few actors from the UK or somewhere in France or somewhere else in Europe that don't rely as much on the tax credit.
Right.
So it depends the budget range of the show and what the show is for and which network it's for. Because I know some networks, maybe there's someone that's pretty big in Europe, then they'll want them in one of the principals. But again, if it's a big budget show, then it's fine. Like I'm sure they can afford it. They don't rely too much on the tax credit. So I think it really depends.
Really depends on the project. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that something you would like to explore more? Or do you
I will at a later date. For now, I think there's a lot of people in the United States and Canada that I want to work with, like names that I really want to work with. So that's why I moved also to the North American market because, Hollywood, right? There's a lot of good actors that I want to work with, and if I wanted to do that in Europe, then I would have stayed there for the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, certainly wasn't downplaying the amazing talent we have here. I just was curious whether you saw in any of your conversations or putting projects together that having more of a global, if possible, again, yes, budget financing for sure, but potentially having more of a global cast would help drive more money potentially drive more money to the
Yeah,
project.
it depends how big of a name they are. But a lot of it is more for the locations. Like European locations are very different than North American locations, so it's more for the aesthetic. But then they would fly in all the actors from North America to Europe. I haven't seen much of the other side.
Around.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting question. Is political correctness ever a thorn in your side?
What do you mean by that exactly?
I think just I mean, there's a lot of what do I want to say? I mean, okay, so I mean, I think there's a lot of cancel culture out there, which sometimes might be relevant. But I think how lightly do you have to tread story-wise or creatively? Do you feel that, I guess it depends on the investor maybe as
Yeah,
well?
I'm an investor, but then the network as well. But I always do my due diligence, and when I go through a script, I kind of have that approach on seeing, will this trigger anyone? Will this trigger
Right.
something? Is there any potential like backlash, or what are the worst cases that could come from like a line in this movie or a scene in this movie or things like that? Um, so I do keep that in mind, but again, film is fiction for the most part of it. It might be inspired by real life events, but don't forget that a movie is fiction. So it's dramatized a lot and it's changed a lot to make it more like a movie. So I don't think everyone will be pleased by every movie,
No.
but some people do try and they keep an eye on what's going on in the world, and keep a kind of a bit of a sensitivity on some elements.
Question here, were you ever overwhelmed or discouraged by the idea of studying film, and how did you deal with it? Just maybe reading between the lines, do you feel that that was a good path?
Yeah, I think it was a great path. I you lose the movie magic a little bit when you watch a movie because you know how everything is made now. So I kind of ruined that for me, but it was something I was willing to take on to be able to make them. But being able to kind of switch that on and off to when you make a movie to see it a little also as an audience to be in their shoes and see, oh, are they gonna like it like that? You really have to be on both sides of how to make a movie. Um, but other than that, no, I don't regret anything. I think it's a fantastic journey. I meet so many people, different cultures, and just brainstorming with so many people, and it's just fantastic. So I know I do not regret. I think it's a great choice.
And that network from that period of time is still part of your career path, people that you met
Yeah,
there.
so yeah, I mean, a lot of people, sometimes disappear, but I stay in touch with quite a lot of them and work with them on different projects. As I said, I bring some of the same people, but on different projects. It really depends. Also, what they like. Um, yeah.
And so what's next for you?
What's next? Well, right now I'm still looking. I'm looking at a lot of submissions and scripts to see what's something that I am interested in. I don't have a set goal on a type of genre, but I'm really looking at different stories and how they're crafted, um, and see if it's something that I like and I want to tell in this moment. Then I think I would go towards that. A lot of things that are a bit easier to start with are more horror films, of course, because it's more contained. What else?
And would you say that's your favorite genre?
Well, it's a genre that made me get into film because I remember my brother, we were supposed to go and see Elysium, and then and then he made me go and see a horror film instead with his friends at the last minute. And and so of course I got scared, and so to make myself comfortable, I'm scared. I looked at how they made the movie, and I was really fascinated on how how it was made. One of the first films I watched, I stole my dad's DVD. It was Blade. It was one of the first Marvel movies. I mean, at my age, I was pretty afraid of those vampires and all that. It was really well done. Guillermo del Toro did a good job. Second one. And so I was scared, and so I looked at how they made it, and that made me like, oh, that's pretty cool, and it's all fake, but it's really well made, and so that really got me into film. Yeah.
And do you think you're still going to make some shorts, or is the focus now long form?
No, it's more long form. I've wrapped up nearly all my shorts now. I have one more that's in post production. I just need all the sound aspect and color of it. Um, And then after that, I'm focusing on the business side, bigger business opportunities, and on features.
Right.
If there is a short that I would like to do, it's probably something that I will write, or have the story based on something that I like.
Right. And what about episodic? Not your world?
It's starting to be. I mean, here at Front Street, Front Street has made Wild Cards and Sight Unseen, which are two series right now that are airing, which I am learning on it as well as a producer assistant, and it's very interesting. It's a different world. It's different blocks and things like that. So it's a movie on a bigger scale. Let's say that. It's different ways of doing things as well, but I'm still learning. It's something I think I would be interested in doing. But for now I'm seeing a bit more how that world evolves. I've done I shot a proof of concept short around the same time as Lowlifes, and we just finished it. And it's a bigger scope project, and it could evolve in a potential series or a series of movies. So that's, if I'm comparing it to the series world, I think that's something that it has my interest, and I've been working on it, but I'm still exploring. I think there's a lot of different distribution is also a bit different, and the way it gets made. So it's still a lot to learn, but I'm on my way to get more interested in that.
Yeah, it is quite different. It seems like it wouldn't be, but at least from a producing perspective, it definitely is a different world to dive into. I have
Yeah.
producing friends who will never do episodic until the day they die. They only want to do feature films, and I have other friends who would never do a feature film. They only want to do episodic. So it is, I think, somewhat polarizing. But I was just curious if it was something that you saw on your horizon. I feel, the opportunity to story tell over 8 to 10 hours is what for me gets really exciting, as opposed to 90 minutes to 2 hours. But definitely, it's a different world for sure.
Actually, I do like that. I like that concept that you can get more of the world that you like. For example, like a Shogun. I really like the Japanese culture, and being more immersed in in that world for a longer period is really nice. Plus, this was shot here, so it was nice to see how they managed to fake Japan. I mean, Vancouver for Japan.
Yeah, medieval
Pretty
Japan.
impressive. Yes, feudal Japan. But I mean, TV series nowadays, it's like a movie, but on um, a bigger scale. Let's say that. Look at the quality of TV now; it's the same quality as a movie, same crew as a movie. It's just became such a huge thing, and the demand is huge. So now movies and TV series are kind of at the same level.
All right, we're getting to the end here. So, James, how would you like to wrap this up? Do you have some inspiring words to people who are listening tonight? A lot of
Yeah.
the questions here were just really, sort of asking, how do you get started? And I think you have covered that throughout the evening. We've talked a little bit about that, but I think, again, your vision for the future of getting started, what would you say to people?
I see, keep creating and push yourself to produce content. Get with some friends, get it with some colleagues, write something and shoot it, even if it's with your phone or anything. Just create content and improve yourself, and then you'll meet more and more people, and that will help do bigger projects and have bigger opportunities. And just get out of your comfort zone. I know it's easy to say, but that's what I needed to do. And if you wait at home, it's not going to come. So you have to go out there. And I don't like to socialize, but I wear my acting hat and I go out there and I talk to everyone and be all jolly and try and make connections and make movies, because you'll be surprised. So many people have that creativity and are willing to collaborate. So I really push you to do that. Create, and you'll get to do bigger stuff.
Excellent. Well, thank you, James. It was a great chat. Well, mostly you chatted, which is the point of all of this. So, but it was really good to hear from you. I can't believe it's been 7 years that we've known each other.
Yes,
So
I
it's
know. I know.
good to have this moment to sort of reconnect and hear about your journey. So thank you very much. And thanks to
Thank you for
everybody
having me.
logged in today. And I think that's it.
Yes.
This will
Thanks
go
so
on
much, everyone.
about a week. Talk to you later. Okay. See you,
Thanks.
James.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Jamie.